My friend is in the market for a Shelby GT350. We've been looking at a bunch of them, and this HPE 850 Hennessey showed up in town. Supercharged, it has a Whipple supercharger on it from Hennessey. And it's a nice car, and it looks really good. It's been well kept. It has a clear bra, not really any swirl marks or anything. Something that I didn't really like was they added these fake Cobra badges to the side, and they actually have them on backwards, so that would be the driver's side one. Here's my friend going in there and switching it to the sport mode on the active exhaust. There you go. Yeah, that's a mean car. So here's a little bit on the inside of the car. You can see it's number 28. I heard they only built 20 or 30 of these cars per year. This is a 2018. And there's the chassis number. Thought that was pretty cool. Under the engine bay, it was kind of dusty and dirty, and that's not really anything too bad. If these cars are going to get dusted out just driving them around like that. And so this is just a little bit under the hood. You can see it has the 3.75 pulley on there. It's not making a whole lot of boost, and Hennessey just basically put the supercharger on it and it's programmed, and that's about it. It has the Whipple tune on it. They're asking good money for the car. They wanted $75,000 for it, and that's okay. But what bothered me was the salesman had posted on social media about this car, and people were commenting on it saying, well, for $89 I can get a brand new 2021 GT500 that's here in town with 200 miles on it. And the salesman said, oh, well, this Hennessey would totally disgrace that 2021 Shelby GT500. And that's not really true, especially if it's a all-out drag race. A stick shift in this car with those Michelin tires and that kind of power is going to be really hard to run up against a 2021 GT500, especially when, according to Hennessey, this car dynos around 750 to the wheels, is what they say. And we know that we've seen 2020 GT500s dynoing stock at 705 to the wheels, which is just a 45 horsepower difference. And that difference is quickly going to be made up when you have a GT500 with the dual clutch 7-speed automatic and launch control running through the gears and leaving this thing in the dust. Well, whoever's driving the stick shift car is probably going to have to pedal and get through it. Now this car also has launch control on it, but when you're dealing with a very fast shifting 7-speed auto against a stick shift car, a drag race is probably going to be in the favor of the automatic car. So unless you have a prepped surface and slicks, this car would have a hard time beating a new GT500. They have very similar torque curves. I've seen the dyno sheets with the Whipple. They're very, very similar to the 500. But anyway, so when a salesman says that this will disgrace a GT500, I think that's a bunch of salesman BS. Speaking of salesmen, we walked in and we were looking at all the cool stuff that the Shelby came with, and I like that a lot. I think it's really cool to see that the previous owner had kept all these things. But I looked at this forged crankshaft that came with the kit, and I asked the salesman, I said, do you know what that is? And he said, no, I'm a salesman, I'm not a mechanic, I don't know anything about this. And that kind of bothered me because if you're in the business of cars and sales, you should probably know a little bit about the product. So that's just my own opinion. That bothered me that he didn't know anything about that, and that's okay if he didn't, but his attitude of he doesn't care because he's a salesman really bothered me. What was cool was the owner of the car did keep all of this stuff, and so I really like that. They also had the original window sticker, and it's basically an average Shelby GT350 window sticker, but then they had the documentation from Hennessey that showed they had paid for the upgrade. And so I thought that was pretty cool. It's nice to have this documentation. So basically it shows that the car has a 2.9 liter Whipple on it. It's 5 or 6 pounds of boost. You can see how big that upper pulley was, so it's only generating 5 or 6 pounds of boost. High flow throttle body, high flow fuel injectors, boost to pump, and airflow induction system. Basically that's all that the car has on it for upgrades. And it's pretty pricey, $24,500. But You know, if it were me, I would wish that Hennessey had upgraded the oil pump gears too, like some really good people on YouTube like Speed does. Now, it was really important to my friend that with all this stuff, they had the Shelby plaque for the engine that has the hand-built Romeo plaque, and that's missing because the Whipple's there. So luckily, we went into the back room and they had a whole bunch of parts from the previous owner, and there's the GT350 intake manifold with the fuel rails and injectors, a whole bunch of other pieces that they took off to do the upgrade. There's the stock airbox system, and we looked through the box and luckily we found the strut tower brace, which doesn't fit because the Whipple's on there now, but he did find the plaque for the engine. So this goes near the fuel rails on the car, and this is the hand-built signature plaque by Ford, by the Romeo niche line, the people who built the engine. So it was good that that was there. So they were pretty good to us. They showed us all this stuff. That was very nice of them. Something that bothered me was my friend wanted to hear the exhaust, so I got in while the car was running and I tapped the throttle a couple times. I only took it up to about 6,000. It redlines at 8250, and the salesman got real upset with me, shouted at me, cursed at me and stuff. Well, that's funny because when he was in the car, you can see here, this was him revving it up. So that's fine. I mean, if he wants to rev it up and then doesn't let me rev it up, and that's up to him. It's their car, but it did kind of bother me that he was so rude to me about it when, you know, I didn't even rev it up very high, but I apologized. I said, I'm sorry, I apologize for that. My friend wanted to hear the car, so I let him hear the car. And I understand it's an expensive car, but this car is a high performance car and it revs to that high for a reason. The car was warmed up, everything was fine with it, so you know, I don't see any problem with hearing the car. You're testing it. That's what you're there to look at it for. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. If I had pinned the throttle and held it on the rev limiter, then I could see him getting upset. But, you know, it was in the RPM range. The car was warmed up. No problem. But anyway, it was cool to go see the car. My friend's deciding if he really wants to pay that kind of money. He'd rather just have a GT350 and be able to go wrap it out without the supercharger on it. Because, I mean, really, these cars are high compression. They're really not made for boost. Yeah, people do it. I would be more comfortable with oil pump gears in the car, but I think a GT350 would be a little more fun, naturally aspirated, where you can really go out and wrap it out and listen to that high revving engine. With a supercharger on it, you'll get through the RPM so quickly that I think it'll take away from the fun. Now, it is a fun car, and it's definitely over 700 horsepower, really cool to the wheels, but in my opinion, I think I'd rather have a normal GT350 as well, and that's what my friend is ultimately deciding. So I just thought it was cool to see this car, number 28, you know, really low production, pretty special car. It's actually kind of sad how the car came up for sale. The original owner bought the car brand new, and then he got sick with the pandemic thing going on and recovered, but then a couple weeks later he had a head injury, and then he ended up dying from that. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. And for those GT350 people who really love these, I thought this was some good content to bring to you. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it.